Go ahead and hit the go live button, and we'll give it a sec here, make sure we're streaming to YouTube while I watch the other window here. But thank you so much for being here, Traci.
Thank you for having me.
Of course.
I'm so excited. Hi, Becca.
Hi, Traci. It's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. You look so much like Rachel or like Juliet. So yeah.
Yes, her hair's red right now. So that's the big indicator. The big difference.
That's cool.
All right, so we are live now, and thank you for joining us, everyone. I see a bunch of you in the chat already. Thank you for being patient with us. We started a little late here, but that's all right. I have the wonderful author Traci Douglas with me here today. Traci, how have you been?
I have been good. Yeah, lots going on, but I've been good. So
excellent. And also, I have Traci Douglas's super fan with us as well, Becca. Becca, how have you been?
I mean, I've been doing pretty great. Positive things, because I have a new Traci Douglas book coming out next month. So
yeah, and one just came out too. So.
I know. I'm currently reading through that one. But I mean, it can't be bad when you got 2 new Traci Douglas books.
Aww.
Yes.
That's so sweet.
And Becca's keeping it secret, but she is also the sibling of fellow Harlequin author Juliet Highland, who is in the comments here. Hello,
Yay!
Juliet. Thank you for being here. I'm just going to run through all the comments here. Reading room, thank you so much for being here. Appreciate it. My friend Alicia is always here. Hey, Alicia, thanks for always being here. Some more authors. Carrie Nichols is here, special edition author. Glad to have you. And then presents author Lucy Monroe, and her own author now, breaking off on her own. So we congratulate her for that. Yeah. And Bree's here, one of my co-hosts for the podcast. And my friend Charles. How are you doing, Charles? Thanks for being here.
Wow, there's a lot of people here tonight.
I know. It's they were going off before we even started. So
wow,
that's great.
It's Traci Douglas. Like
it is Traci Douglas. Yes,
set it in your iPhone.
Boy, you guys have no idea.
Quite a celebrity with it.
Try to be on my best behavior, but I tend to have no filter on these things. So
we don't accept best behavior here. We want worst behavior only. So.
Oh goodness.
Well, I always like to start my shows with my guests showing off some book covers that they're loving on. So did you two bring any book covers to show off?
Well, that was the other reason I was a little bit late, because I forgot to study my question sheet that you sent. So I was like, oh my gosh. But the funny thing is, I'm actually doing a book chat with Lucy and Carrie later this week. And our topic this week is book covers. So I was kind of prepared a little bit. But Becca, do you have book covers?
I do. The majority of my books are on the Gloss app now, because my husband, we move a lot for our job, and he won't let me take them with me anymore, so I have to buy them. Well, it's a sad thing. He let me pick, like one box of like books. So I picked 30, and my favorite books. These are just category romances.
Oh, wow.
We have shelves and shelves of books downstairs, but this is the box the movers lost this move. I have vowed to not buy hardcover books, like physical books, because I mean, I lost ones that are irreplaceable. I was so sad. But I do have 2. I have a Love Inspired, the Marines mission, because the dog. I mean, who doesn't want a dog on a cover?
Dog covers are great.
And I do have the other one I'm working through, which is by Juliet Highland, the Vet's Unexpected House Guest, also a dog.
Another dog?
Yes.
So
plus,
awesome.
I mean, this one, I'm very lucky that I had the author wrote to me. She signed her name in here with a very snarky comment as well. So
see, it helps to know people, right? Yeah.
Well, when she puts you as a character in her book and doesn't tell you.
Oh
no.
She owes you a book. She owes you not the next book.
Hey, it's an occupational hazard when you know writers. So yeah.
Yes, I have been told if you're in their universe, you're going to be in a book.
Everything is fodder for your book. So
yes.
Yeah.
Which that's exactly what she said herself when she was on this exact show. She said she uses everyone around her's name eventually.
Yeah,
Yes.
It's true. It's true. And sometimes it's not even on purpose. It just kind of filters in there and you're like, oh.
Yeah. Oh, it was on purpose because this one she wrote for Becca. You're not in this one.
Oh.
Was Juliet Hyland.
Oh, that's so funny. That's hilarious.
And here she is. I told her.
You warned her, right? Yeah. Oh, that's so funny.
All right. So Traci, did you have any covers for us?
I did.
You did?
Yeah, I picked two. I picked so there's a whole like thing right now with illustrated covers. Like every book has an illustrated cover right now, but I really love this book. I don't know if you guys have read this. It's called The House in the let's see, there we go. The House in the Cerulean Sea. It's by TJ Klune.
Oh.
And it has an illustrated cover, but it's so cute that yeah. So that's one book. And then I went very old school on my second book. I picked a Joanna Lindsey book because when I first started reading romance like eons ago, Joanna Lindsey was one of the first authors that I like really took to. And it's a step back cover. So it's a Fabio cover.
It's a Fabio.
Yeah, it's a Fabio cover. This book is Until Forever, and it's like a whacked out like time travel book that and every time I say this, people take it the wrong way, but it's about this archaeologist professor in college, and she buys a sword at a flea market, and little does she know that this sword contains the soul of this man, this like Scottish warrior man. And so she takes it back to her classroom, and one day after class, she's rubbing the sword, and she apparently rubs it the wrong way, and suddenly this gorgeous naked man appears in her classroom. And so yeah, it's a whole thing, but it I'm not telling it very well. It actually reads better than that, but this book it's the bomb. So yeah. So if you've not read that, Until Forever by Joanna Lindsey, she unfortunately passed away, but the book is still here. So yeah.
And her covers will live on forever.
God, yes. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I have two more Joanna Lindsey covers that I'm going to talk about on Lucy and Carrie's chat. But yeah, one is another Fabio cover. Yeah. I mean, it's Fabio. You can't beat Fabio. So yeah.
You know, it's funny. I was a late to the game romance reader, but my mother had plenty of them on the shelf at home, and plenty of Fabios, things like that. Yeah. And if I had known what was actually inside these books, I probably would have taught like myself to be a reader a lot sooner.
Right? Yeah. It's true. We guys have no idea. So yeah.
Little did I know. I know now.
Well, you're catching up now. That's good.
Yes.
That's good.
Yeah. Catch up.
Yeah.
All right. Well, the next question we have is from Becca.
All right. Traci, with the Costa Rican fling with the dog. I love the ages of Gage and Sarah.
Okay.
I love how it kind of shows, romance is a completely broad spectrum. It's not just this small little space. So I guess my question is, how do you decide what life experiences your characters are going to have when you start writing?
Oh, that's a good question. For those of you that don't know, that was my first seasoned romance for the Medicals line. So sorry, I'm holding it the wrong way. So both of my characters, my heroine is in her 40s and the hero is a silver fox in his 50s. And, honestly, especially as a category romance writer, because category romance has a very high output. I'm sure you know that with your sister.
Not high enough.
So many books per year. And so I'm always trying to think of fresh ideas and things that I haven't necessarily seen before in a category romance. And I really hadn't read very many seasoned romance characters in category romance. So I thought, I'm going to see if they'll let me write that. And they were all for it. So that's kind of how that came about. And I knew that, because they're older, they've been around and they've seen stuff, they've been through stuff. So I kind of, I based it off of that. And then I also, and I'm going to show my age here, but do you guys remember the show A.R.R. that used to be on like in the 90s, late 90s, early 2000s? Yeah. Mm-hmm. I was totally into that show. And there was a couple on there. They were not older. They were like in their 30s, I think. But I loved their kind of, I am all for like a tragic hero who has like a tragic backstory. And there was a character on there named Luka Kovac. And he was Croatian, and he lost his family in the Croatian War. And so I kind of based Gabe off of him a little bit, and kind of added to that backstory a little bit. And then Sarah was, I just know people like her. She's in her 40s. She's single mom. She's just making it on her own. And I thought, well, wouldn't it be kind of cool to like transplant her from Chicago, where she lives and where she's comfortable? She's an empty nester, and just put her down here in this new environment and see what happens, So that's kind of how that came about. Yeah. So. Well,
Luka was Alicia's favorite.
He was so hot, right? I love Luka. Luka was like, oh my God.
Well, I want to go back to a few comments about the book covers you showed. Charles from Books on Stereo says he loves TJ Klune. And is that one part of the Lightning Struck Heart series?
No, this was, this is like a standalone, The House in the Cerulean Sea. It's such a totally sweet story. It's one of those books that I have read this like 4 times since I've gotten it in April, just because with everything kind of on fire in the world, it's just really comforting to just read something that's just so sweet and kind and nice, and everyone gets there happily ever after. It's such a good book. It's like a nice warm blanket of a book. So
yeah. So that's okay. I remember that one now because my spouse is a huge TJ Klune fan.
Yeah.
And they enjoyed it as well, but they're a fan of TJ Klune's, the more adult stuff.
Yes,
stuff
no, this is like the opposite end of the spectrum.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's totally different than the other books that he's read, that he's written. This one and Under the Whispering Door. I love that one too. And that one was a different, kind of a different departure for him too. So yeah.
All right. Yeah, I'll have to check those out. And then Anne said, sounds like she rubbed it the right way, which is exactly what I was thinking as well.
Oh yeah. You can see the sword. It's a really big sword.
Oh, so, that's yeah.
Well, I can't remember if she rubbed the sword or the jewel, but either way, it's kind of, we know
works.
what you're talking about, right? So, yeah.
I kept wondering if there were quotation marks around sword, and every time it was she's rubbing the sword like that.
Right? Yeah. It's a big sword. Yeah. So we know what that means. So yeah.
All right. Bree's comment here is really funny. I'd love to chat dedicated to stories starting with, I wanted to see if they let me get away with whatever.
I do that all the time. I do. And they almost always let me get away with it. So
I mean, you're Tracy Douglas, so they should.
I'd
read it.
Well, thank you for saying that. I'm not sure if my editor sees it the same way, but yeah, I mean, like I'm a big supporter of the queer community, and I have always, from the very first Medicals book that I wrote, I've always put queer characters in my books.
Yes.
And they're always as of right now, they're secondary characters, but I'm hoping within the near future to have an actual queer main couple in one of my books. So fingers crossed that will be happening soon. But yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's really good to hear. I've been hearing that a lot from the authors recently of trying to work in those kind of dynamics into the stories and everything. So it's good to know that that's coming around.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's just, I mean, I don't know what kind of world you guys live in, but in my world, I have all kinds of people in my world. Yes. I mean, it's a diverse world. If you walk outside, there's all kinds of people outside. And if you don't know any diverse people or queer people, then you're probably not looking hard enough, because they're everywhere. So, you know, yeah, so it's just, yeah, I just write what I see, you know? So, yeah.
I mean, they've had several in special editions too.
Yeah, they're starting to, especially like the romance. Yeah, they've started that in special edition. And I thought that I saw that someone signed for Desire for an I want to say. I can't remember exactly which author it was.
I know who it is, but I don't know if I could. Yes,
okay, it is. Yeah, I thought so, because I remember seeing an announcement on it, like a Publishers Weekly announcement on it, and then it just kind of disappeared, and so I couldn't quite remember, but I thought it might be her because she's written before, so yeah.
Yeah, she had teased the character, but we actually got to have him around, you know, in One Night Expectations. So it was nice to get to meet that character that's gonna be the star of that book.
Awesome. Well, I'm working on something for my editor, so hopefully soon. Yeah.
Well, we are gonna love it because it's from Traci Douglas.
Aw, you guys are so sweet.
All right. Well, Barcelona Baby Bombshell is releasing in July.
Yep.
A Mistletoe Kiss in Manhattan is releasing in November.
Yeah.
The GP's Royal Secret releases January 2023. So when do you sleep? And what can you tell us about their Barcelona Baby Bombshell?
Oh my goodness. Well, I sleep at night, and I usually sleep pretty good because I'm so tired. But yeah, they packed me full of releases this year. I have 4 books coming out this year. That's the most books that I've ever had come out in 1 year with medicals. And yeah, it's a lot. Well, and the thing is that you write these books so far ahead of when the release date is that sometimes it's hard. And especially like some of the lines you'll have like a bigger space between releases because they have like so many authors and so many releases to get out. But like medicals, they put out 6 books every month. And so they're always constantly wanting more books from their authors. And the way that they scheduled my releases, there's like, I have like 2 close together and then another 2 close together. So I had, I can't remember the names now. Island Reunion with the Single Dad, the one that just came out. Yeah, that one just came out the end of April, May 1st. And then this one, Barcelona Baby Bombshell, comes out June 1st. I'm going to get these all mixed up. And then A Mistletoe Kiss in Manhattan. Sorry, I can't even remember my titles. A Mistletoe Kiss in Manhattan. I need more sleep, obviously. That comes out in November. And then the GP's Royal Secret. That comes out the end of December. And I'm actually still writing the GP's Royal Secret now. So yeah, that's kind of a whole thing. But yeah, so their Barcelona Baby Bombshell, I actually, and this is embarrassing, but I actually had to go back and look at the blurb on this one because I honestly didn't remember these people. So now, I wrote this book last August, is when I turned this in. And this was actually really fun because this is part of a continuity. And a continuity is, in medicals, it's 4 books that usually take place within the same location. So it could be a hospital setting or a city or a certain event or something. And each of the authors has a specific couple that they write about. And then the next book is about another couple and so on. So they're standalone, so you can read them. You don't have to read all 4 books, but we hope that you would read all 4 books.
You should.
Yeah, you should.
In order.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to. You can read them out of order. You could just read 1 or 2 or whatever. But yeah, I mean, if you read it all, there's like an overarching story, and couples will make appearances in other books and things like that. So Barcelona Baby Bombshell takes place in Barcelona. And my book is the second book in the series, and it follows a paramedic, a female paramedic named Isabella, and a male nurse named Carlos. And they have a one-night stand with consequences, and then they try and deal with that when it comes up. They don't expect to see each other again. Then they see each other, and then she finds out she's pregnant, and whoops, baby. And so that's it. And there's also like a little, because he's searching for his he's from Cuba, and he moved to Barcelona to try and find out more about his biological father, who was not part of his life. And so there's a little kind of, I don't want to say mystery, but they work together to try and find out more about that. And it was really fun to write, because I've never been to Barcelona, and it was really fun investigating the city and all the different places that they go to. And it was kind of like taking a tour of Barcelona, because they take a tour of Barcelona too. So it was kind of fun. So that was probably way more than you wanted to know, right?
No, that's hey, we're all about talking here on the live show, so that's great. Who are the other authors that are writing in the series?
You're gonna ask me that, are you? Yeah. Book 1, you're gonna make my brain work. Book 1 is Scarlett Wilson. Then there's me, and then Louisa Heaton and Tina Beckett.
Okay.
Yes.
Rockstar group right there.
Yes. Yeah, it was super fun to write. We all had really great books and really great characters, and I hope people are really gonna like it. It's really fun. So yeah.
Now, do you have like a super fun group chat going when you're writing these collections with other authors of like, oh, I did this to this character? And
it's really funny. I've done 2 of these continuities before. The first one was a Christmas continuity, and it took place in a fictional hospital in Seattle. And that one, we did emails, which was really, really chaotic, because you start getting these like huge email strings with like 15, 20, 30 emails in it. And you're like going back through trying to find all the information, and it was crazy. So then we moved to groups.io, which is like a group chat kind of thing. Kind of like Yahoo Groups, the old Yahoo Groups, if you remember that.
Oh, I
anyway,
remember.
So we did that for this one, and it's really nice because we're all over the world, basically. I'm in the US, one author's in Scotland, one author's in England, and one author, I guess Tina's here in the US too. So but different time zones and all that stuff. So so we do it all through groups.io, and it helps a lot. So
that's good.
Yeah.
That's good. All right, I'll let Becca ask her next question.
Okay. Well, say that was, I remember that series because I was very frustrated because it was broken into 2 months. The first 2 were in November, and so I just assumed they would be in,
I think they're doing the same thing with this one. So they do that on purpose. See, they want you to buy the books the next month too. So, I don't know. Yeah. Well, and with these with the continuities, they are editor driven. So the editors actually come up with the basic story ideas, and then they pick the 4 authors that they want to write it, and then you each get an outline. So it's kind of nice in that aspect, because it takes a little bit of the legwork from the beginning off of you, because you're just kind of given what you're going to be writing about. But then it's a little bit bare bones, so you kind of have to fill it all in, and that's where it can get kind of sticky because you have to make sure you can embellish your own story, but you have to be careful because there's certain elements that cannot change, because if they change, it's going to affect every other book in the continuity.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. And I've heard nightmare scenarios where, you know, someone will go in, well, you know, I didn't like this, so I changed this part. And then it affects all the other books and all the other authors. Their book might already be done because right. Depending on what an author's schedule is, like Scarlett Wilson is really a rock star, and she is writing. I mean, I think I'm pretty prolific, but she is like out of this world prolific. And hers was the first book in this continuity, but she was working on 2 other projects at the same time. And she finished one project like a week before she started working on this book. And then this book was due like a week after that. And I mean, she was just like, you know, so it's a little chaotic because everybody's got their own schedules. But yeah, it's overall, I like doing the continuities. They're kind of fun because, yeah, it's kind of fun working in this shared world. So, yeah.
Well, Bree has a question here. She loves the locations in medicals. When in the writing process, do you figure out where the story is set?
When in the writing process, I usually figure that out pretty early on myself, because usually my setting, whatever my setting is almost like another character in the story. So I want to, when I'm writing, I need to feel like I can get into that character's skin and I know what they're feeling. And that includes like where they're living and the places they like to go. Like I need to feel like I have a complete world that I'm inhabiting. And so I will figure out my setting pretty early on. And for me anyway, I usually try and pick places that either are very familiar to me and I really love, or I'll pick some place that I've never been to, but I want to go, because then I can research that and kind of, well, and especially during the pandemic when you couldn't travel, it was like being able to travel because you could, yes. You know, you could investigate all these places and find all this stuff and watch all these YouTube videos and stuff. And it was kind of cool. So, yeah. So I don't know if that answered, hopefully that answers your question, Bree. So
I told Bree that literally almost word for word when I told her she should read more medical books. I said, Bree, the location, the hospital, it becomes its own character. That's why these medicals are so good.
It does. And
I hope she remembers that. Tracy Douglas said it too, Bree. I was right.
Yeah. Well, and you know, I mean, one of the things, because I'll hear sometimes people who haven't read the medical sign, they'll be like, oh, you know, I don't like blood and gore and stuff. And it's not that. And they're like, well, it's all like in a hospital. And it depends on the story. Some of the stories are very hospital centric or clinic centric, but a lot of them, and I can only speak for myself, but I like to, I mean, obviously you have the medical core of the story, but I like to get out and about too. I mean, I don't like to be all like stuck in one like little, I mean, not that there's anything wrong with that, but I like to expand my worlds a little bit. So yeah. So.
Hey, Cache, thank you for being here.
Hello.
And Bree agrees with you, Becca. You were right.
See?
Right.
Have we converted you to a medicals reader, Bree? I hope so.
Yeah. Bree reads medicals, I believe.
Yep.
I won't speak for her. That's
well, I'm pretty sure I've seen medicals in her stacks that she posts on Instagram. So, yeah.
But we agree. We loved the locations and everything for a lot of the Harlequin books. Yes. The Presents line did it too, I think, during the lockdown and everything. Oh, yeah. You know, really taking us away from our four walls.
Some of the lines like Presents and Desire, and I mean, they really want like the exotic, you know, international, you know, like glitzy, glamorous places. So yeah, those are definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So much fun.
Mm-hmm.
Instagram, you are just an incredibly uplifting force. I know I'm always put in a better mood when I see one of your posts, or you know, Why have you taken it upon yourself to keep all the rest of us going?
Well, thank you for saying that. I try and be a very positive, optimistic person in general in life. And yeah, I mean, I to be honest, I started posting that stuff just for myself because life is hard. So, I'll find stuff, and I love quotes and stuff like that. And so when I see something that speaks to me, I'll post that, and to make myself feel better, and hopefully to kind of brighten somebody else's day too. So, yeah, I mean, I'm not out there trying to be the queen of positivity or anything like that, but yeah, I mean, everything is yeah, I mean, there's so there's so much dark in the world right now that I think anytime you can spread some light, I think that's a good thing. So
yes, and we agree, and yes, Lucy agrees here as well.
Oh, good. Yay,
Yeah.
Bree. Yes,
All right,
there is
Becca.
a lot of work-wise in the medicals along with romance.
Mhm.
So I get told by my editor a lot to tone it down a little bit because I tend to put a lot of medical speak in there in my first my first drafts, and yeah, sometimes a little too much. So I try very hard to do my research for the medical portions because I want them to sound realistic. I worked in the medical profession for about 7 years, and so I know some of that, but I want it to sound like real people talking, like in the emergency room or in the surgical area or whatever. And so I watch a lot of YouTube videos about all kinds of stuff. And I had no idea that you could find all of this stuff online until I started writing medicals. But I'm pretty sure I could actually do a brain surgery now because I watch so many brain surgeries on YouTube. I mean, like detailed, like right in somebody's like cranium brain surgeries. So yeah, for the neurosurgeon's Christmas to Remember, yeah, that was I'm pretty sure I could operate on somebody's brain now. So I've watched so many of those videos. So it's crazy. Yeah.
Bree enjoys the medical professionals doing their jobs.
Right? Yeah.
Appreciate that. All right, Becca, why don't you go ahead and ask one of your questions? Yeah.
All right, so like I said, a whole bunch of the books have now moved to the Gloss app. So it used to be back in the day I could walk into a bookstore and buy medicals, and then I could buy all 6 at once. You can't do that anymore, much to my frustration.
Right.
Are you excited for the new editions of the medical romance subscription options, and how will that impact your readers? I know for me, when I heard about it, I subscribed in less than 30 seconds.
Oh my
so
gosh.
I'm thrilled, but I just wonder what you think as an author and how that's going to affect your readers. I am so excited
about that. We have been fighting for that for so long because I forget how many years ago. It was a couple years ago they redid the whole Harlequin website. And when they did that, the Harlequin or the medicals subscription disappeared.
It did.
It disappeared. And when someone asked about it, they had no idea that it was gone. Apparently, that's what they said. They're like, oops, it's gone. And I'm like,
oops.
You didn't know that this is gone. And this had been like 2 years. And they're like, oh, it's not there? I'm like, no, it's not there. So then they're like, oh, well, we're going to get somebody on that and we'll get that fixed. So then it's been like another 2 years. So finally I saw the thing on Twitter for it. And I'm like, oh my God, yes. Because yeah, that's the thing. Medicals is one of those lines we do very well overseas, like in the UK and France and all of the European countries. But we don't get a lot of hype here in the US. So, most people come to medicals because someone they know has read a medicals and they're like, oh, have you read, this line? And a lot of people are like, oh, I didn't even know there was such a line,
Mm-hmm.
And so, yes, anything that will get our books in front of more eyeballs is a good thing. So yes, I am thrilled about the subscription thing.
I mean,
yes.
I happen to know a medical author
Right.
who writes medicals because somebody read medicals.
See? There you go. Yes, I
Becca
know.
bringing new authors into the world.
Right? Right?
I was so happy when I found that. I was like, they're finally back. They're finally back.
Right. I know. I was absolutely, I was thrilled when I saw that. I'm like, oh my God, finally. Because we're not on store shelves in North America. So yeah, get us that ebook subscription so people can find us and start reading our books. Because I think medical stands up to any of the other lines that are out there. Yeah. It's just we need more people to find us and start reading us here in
When I feel like you get a different dynamic of characters too, having the characters be in the professional class.
Yeah. I mean, it kind of straddles that line and medicals is really interesting because I don't think any of the other lines are as diverse story-wise as medicals is, because you can have everything from a small town clinic up to a huge luxury practice somewhere, and everything in between. We've got millionaires, billionaires, we've got little small town doctors. I mean, we've got everything you could possibly want all in one line. So yeah, I think it's the best of everything right there.
Well, Becca, why don't you go ahead and ask your next question, and because it kind of leads into my next one. Yeah.
Right. So you've written across multiple lines and genres. We know, you've written the romance, and you've written the I don't know how to say this. You've written the books that I won't read that are, I know, right?
Which are what?
Tongues and jars. That's
Tongues and jars. Yes.
Okay.
I won't read some of the Fated Mates, things like that. If ever there was one I would read without being punished like I was before, it would be a Traci Douglas one.
Oh, okay.
But within that, is there anything specific that you want to write and move into?
Oh gosh. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I would like to get into single title romance, which are the kind of the bigger, longer romances at some point. And I think I mentioned hopefully I'll be writing an medical soon. And yeah, I mean, that's kind of I mean, I've written Sweet Small Town for Entangled. I've written Paranormal for Thule Publishing. I've written some short stories for different small publishers. So yeah, I mean, I kind of do what I want. Yeah.
Traci Douglas, I do what I want.
Yeah. I mean, I just kind of, if there's something I want to write, I just write it. So I don't really, yeah. That probably doesn't answer your question.
No, it does.
Yeah, it kind of follows into the next question. And that is, I'm just picturing you several years ago sitting at your desk. You're writing about demons and vampires, end of the world, all that stuff. And then all of a sudden you think, I'm going to write a book about an army doctor. So that's how it happens in my head when I'm thinking about it. But
yeah,
how did it really happen?
Yeah, no, it didn't happen like that. So actually, my very first book ever was a paranormal romance, and that was written back in. Well, I wrote it in 2011, end of 2011. I revised it in 2012, and then it got bought and was published in 2013. And those came out, the first two books in that series came out with a publisher that is no more. It was called Crimson Romance. And those two books came out with them. And then, let's see, January and May of 2013 is when those came out. And about a week after that first book came out, my mom was diagnosed with lung cancer. And a month after the second book came out, she passed away. So it happened super quick, and it was super traumatic for me. I was her sole caretaker, and it just totally wiped me out. And so after I had one more book in that series, I'd self-published that, and then I didn't write anything for 3 years. I just had no mojo. I had nothing. I was just completely wiped out. And so then in 2015, I happened to be on Twitter, and I was kind of thinking like, maybe I can write something again. And then I was on Twitter, and I saw a contest for erotic romance, which wasn't something I'd ever written before. My other stuff, I mean, it had open door sex scenes, but it wasn't erotic. I wouldn't call it erotic. And but it was for a new publisher called Thule Publishing, and they were having an erotic romance contest. And you just had to turn in, I think it was like 3 chapters and a synopsis. And so I thought, maybe I'd give it a try. And I had this kind of paranormal idea kicking around in my head again. And this one was about kind of a ragtag motorcycle club that had kind of every kind of creature you could imagine. And the hero in that first book was a pain demon. So he got off on like, pain. And the heroine goes into this biker bar looking for her sister, and she ends up hooking up with the pain demon guy. And so anyway, so I wrote it and I sent it in, and I didn't hear anything back. And I thought, I'm sure it didn't place or anything. And then I got an email from an editor at Thule, and she's like, oh, well, unfortunately your book didn't place in the contest, but we'd like to buy it anyway and publish it.
Oh.
And, well, that was, I'm like, oh, yes, I got the email. And then I'm like, I read it and I filed it away. And then I opened up and I read it again. I'm like, so I didn't place, but it sounds like they want to buy my book. And I'm like, that's interesting. And so I emailed her back. She's like, yeah, we really liked it. And she's like, is this going to be a series? And I'm like, well, I don't know. I just wrote 3 chapters, and I'm like, I guess I could make it a series. And she's like, well, cool. We'd like to buy those too. And I'm like, okay. And so, so that's how I got back into writing. It wasn't like I was sitting there like, oh, I'm going to write a biker book about a pain demon, And so that happened. And then the end, let's see, that was like 2015, 2016. In 2017, I was thinking, I really wanted to get into contemporary romance because paranormal, that was around the time it started to tank a little bit.
Yeah.
And so I thought, if I want to try and do this, I probably need to get into contemporary because that is a steady seller. And so I had tried, Harlequin used to have a contest called So You Think You Can Write. And I had entered that way back in 2013. And I think I even did like 2012 maybe on that. And they didn't have that contest anymore, but they had things called blitzes where the editors would put out a call for stories for a particular line. And you just needed 1 chapter and a synopsis, and you sent it in, and it was a way to skip the slush pile. And for those that don't know, the slush pile is kind of the catch-all bin for all the submissions that come in that aren't specifically requested by an editor. So they go into what's called the slush pile, and then usually an intern or an editorial assistant will read through and pick out the ones that they want and whatever. And it was a way to skip that and go directly to an editor's desk. And so I thought, okay, well, I'm going to wait until one of these blitzes happens and then I'll see. And so the first one I tried was for the heartwarming line.
Yeah.
Because Harlequin also, on the old Harlequin website, they used to have, and I love these boards, they used to have community boards on the Harlequin website. So like all these aspiring Harlequin authors could get on these boards and talk. And I had been on these boards since I started in the So You Think You Can Write contest way back in 2012. And like all of these big Harlequin authors were on there, like people just starting out. And I mean, like Stephanie London and Regina Kyle, and I mean, just Carrie Nichols was on there. I mean, all these people were on there, and we all like got to meet and chat and become friends and all this stuff online. And so the heartwarming blitz happened first, and I was on these boards, and I was in there talking to a bunch of heartwarming authors and people who are entering this thing and whatever. And so I wrote a chapter for that and a synopsis and sent it in, and I got a request for a full on it, and I thought, okay. So I started to write a book for that, and then I thought, I don't know. I wasn't quite feeling it. And then I saw they were having a medical blitz, and I thought, oh, well, I could probably write a medical. I used to work in medicals, or work in a medical facility, so I kind of have an idea of that. And I just wanted to get my foot in the door, and Harlequin is what I wanted. And so I thought, yeah, okay. So I wrote a chapter and a synopsis, and I sent it off. And I have the worst luck, because the last day of the contest, the day that I went to send my story in, one of my dogs died. And so, right. And so I was just like sobbing it was Super Bowl Sunday, and I was sobbing on the couch because my dog had died. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to send this in for my dog, and I'm going to dedicate it to my dog. And, you know, if anything good happens, it's because of my dog. And that, okay. So the first story that I entered was completely not what a medical should be at all. It was awful. It was, my hero was a drug addict. He was an EMT. It was raw. It was rough. And I sent it in, and bless her heart, I sent it in that Sunday. And Monday morning, I had a response from one of the medicals editors. Her name was Laura McCallan, and she was awesome. And she bless her heart, she sent me a response, and she said, you know, this really isn't the type of story we typically look for in medicals. But if you have any other idea and you'd like to write something and send it in, we'd love to see it. So I'm like, okay. And she's like, you know, no drug use, no, you know, all this stuff. And so she's like, well, you know, maybe try this or that or whatever. And so I reworked it, and I sent it back in, and I read some medicals, and I'm like, okay, so now I kind of have an idea of what they're looking for. And so I'm like, okay, so what, you know, I ask a lot of what if questions when I'm coming up with kind of ideas. And I thought one of the references they had was House. And I thought, well, I really like that show. And I thought, well, what would happen if House was a woman, and this woman had a reality TV show where she went around every week and diagnosed cases that nobody else could figure out? Wouldn't that be kind of cool? And what if that was my heroine? And I'm like, okay. And then, well, what kind of hero would bounce off that kind of heroine really well? What would create some sparks there? And so I thought, well, what about a guy who's just very regimented and very, you know, there's a way to do it, and that's how you do it, and you follow orders, and this is the right way, and that's how we do it all the time. And that's totally opposite my heroine. And so that's kind of how that first book came about. And I love a good opposites attract story. You'll find that in most of my books. Most of my heroes and heroines are like total opposites, because that's where the sparks come from, you know. And yeah, so that's kind of how that story idea came about. And then I went back and forth for, I want to say, a year and a half on that book with the editors, doing revise and resubmits until they finally bought my book. And finally, I was like, yay! And the heavens rejoiced. And yeah, but yeah, that's how it. Yeah. So every journey is different, and mine. Some people, they write their book, they send it in, and it's whoa, this is wonderful. We're going to buy it. And mine was not, no, my journey was like, woo. Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing that with us, because I'm sure a lot of aspiring authors can easily get discouraged. And so hearing a story of just sticking with it is,
oh my
is
God. You know, that's
good
the
to
thing.
hear.
In this business, if you persist, you are going to get there someday. You just keep going and keep trying. You will get there. Somehow, some way, you will get there. And sometimes that's the thing that sets you apart from everybody else, is that you just don't give up. You just keep going. Every time you get a no or a, well, this isn't quite what we're looking for, just switch gears and try something else. You know, I mean, that's really the thing that's going to get you where you want to go. You know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, yes.
All right, Becca, go ahead and ask your next question.
All right, Traci, do you prefer writing the duos with other authors, or like the First Response in Florida duo where you write them both? I mean, I have an answer, but I didn't know which one you had.
Okay, so here is a fun fact. I have never written a duo with another author.
Exactly.
I've never had a duo with another author. I've only had my own duo. I don't know why. I don't know. They never asked me to do those. So I've done continuities with other authors, but I have never done a duo with another author. My editor doesn't ask me. The other authors don't ask me. So I'm just like, okay. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know.
Maybe Juliet wants to write a duo with you. I'll just put that out there. No big deal. No
there you
deal.
go. I mean, I'm open to it, but yeah, I mean, they keep me pretty busy, so maybe it's a scheduling thing. I don't know, but yeah. So I would certainly be open and would love to write a duo with another author, but yeah. So far, I've only written one with myself, and that one okay. So.
I'd say it went very well.
I like my co-author, so
yeah.
Did you get to read the second book, Aaron?
I haven't gotten a chance to read it yet, but I will.
You should read the second one, because I had my heroine in the first book was very polarizing. So people either loved Lucy or they didn't care for her so much. But yeah, the second book, everybody loved the second book. So yeah.
But again, Lucy is all about people you see in the world. Everybody in the world is not fit in this box. There are people in the world that live with, you know, they're not neurotypical individuals. So why can't we have a hero and a heroine that embody those aspects? I mean,
exactly. And that's exactly what I thought. And I'm neurodivergent. I'm OCD. And so when I wrote Lucy, I gave her some of the characteristics that I have. And not every person with OCD is the same. Everyone, even neurodivergent people, they're not all the same. You know, it's like there's a spectrum across all of the neurodivergencies. So it's like, I love that. I want to see all of that represented, you know, because you're absolutely right, Becca. Those people are in the world. And if you don't see them or you don't think you know anybody like that, you're not looking hard enough, because they're everywhere.
Yes.
Yeah.
Everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
I like the book. I will say the first couple chapters with the alligator, I was like, she has an alligator, and the alligator bit him.
Yeah, well, you know, I had to do something. I had to,
like an alligator.
Yeah. I had to, you know, there had to be that hurt comfort moment in there. So yeah.
I mean, how'd you mean? Well, her alligator bit me when I came to save her from a hurricane.
Yeah, the alligator didn't bite him; it just scratched him.
Just a flesh wound.
Yeah, just a flesh wound, just a minor alligator scratch. So yeah.
Loved your first heroine who would come out with miscellaneous facts whenever nervous. I love a character like that as well. Just the nervous, chatty person.
I do that. That's why I'm so chatty on these things, because I'm so nervous when I get these things. I'm like, blah, 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 and then I can't. It's like, blah. Yeah,
well, it makes you perfect for live streaming and podcasts.
Oh, good. Because, well, the worst thing is just silence,
that, right?
Yeah. The only problem is that, like, sometimes the filters go off, so you never know what's going to come out. So I always apologize in advance because, you know, when the filters are gone, I don't have any control over that. So.
All right. Well, give us this unfiltered. For anyone that's completely new to Traci Douglas, where would you have them start with your medicals and with your paranormals?
Okay. With the paranormals, it's easy because right now there's only 3 available. So I would have them start with book 1 of my Blood Ravagers series, which is the motorcycle gang people, and that's the Pain Demon and the twin who is looking for her sister. So I would start with that one. It's called Bloodbound. It was on sale not too long ago, so sorry about that. You guys missed it, but yeah, you can find it anywhere. It's from Thule Publishing. And then for medicals, gosh, I don't know. I mean, my Anchorage Mercy World, probably, I mean, One Night with the Army Doc probably would be a good place to start. I mean, it would give you a good feel for the kind of characters that I write. They're kind of quirky and snarky and kind of, you know, they kind of follow their own path. That book, Finding Her Forever Family, is book 2 in that series. People love that book. That's like my most popular book, I think. And then A Weekend with Her Fake Fiance is the 3rd book in the Anchorage Mercy World. I'd probably start with those. If you're looking for standalones, my personal favorite book is The Mistletoe Kiss with a Single Dad, because that book is set in a little town in Michigan that's based on a little town that my family used to visit every year when I was growing up. And I love that book. So it's got kind of a prickly, unlikable heroine in the beginning, and a single dad who doesn't love a single dad. And then, it's just a really fun little story, and it takes place in a small town. That's probably my personal favorite book that I've written. And or if you like my sweet small town stuff, from Entangled, you can check those out too. So, yeah.
Well, thank you. Juliet loves A Weekend with Her Fake Fiance. That's her favorite.
That was fun. That was a fun book. So that had my midwife, my Caribbean midwife, and who was the hero in that? Oh, that was a single dad too. Yeah, he had a snarky teenage daughter. So yeah, that was fun. Yeah,
I'm living that right now. So
oh no.
Aaron could write that book.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So that was a fun book. I like that book too. So
excellent. Go ahead, Becca.
All right. So we talked a little bit about it before, but the Royal Christmas at Seattle General Series, 4-part, and you wrote the second one, the Neurosurgeon's Christmas to Remember. Mm-hmm. How are these more difficult for you to write than like when you do your medical duos? Because you can control everything in that one. Right. How much more difficult are these to write when there's a 4-part? I know you touched on it before, but it's difficult for me to imagine, like, as a writer, like, okay, you have a little bit of control here, but in your duos, you have the whole world that you control.
Yeah, it's tricky because, I mean, when they send you the packets for those continuities, everything that is kind of set in stone, which is helpful. Everything that's set in stone that can't be changed or altered is like in red type. So, so you have these things, and they tend to put it all like at the end, like, okay, here are all the plot points that coincide with somebody else's book. And so you need to either make sure that you put this within your story at this particular time, or you cannot change this setting or this, whatever it happens to be. It's, once you get used to it, it's really not bad, because once you know what the parameters are that you have to work in, then you can kind of get very creative with whatever your particular story is, as long as it's not going to affect anything with the other authors. So that Seattle General Hospital Royal, or Royal Hospital, Royal Christmas, or whatever it was. That was, I can't even remember anymore. That continuity was my very first one. So that was quite a steep learning curve for me, because that particular one I was in with some pretty veteran medicals authors. And
Yes.
I think I had been with the line for a year at that point. And so talk about intimidated. I was like, oh God. And I didn't want to screw anything up. And I'm like, wow, this is a lot. But once I kind of settled into my story and I had mapped out, okay, these are the things that have to happen at this particular time, and these are the things that are set in stone and I can't change, then it gave me more freedom to work within those boundaries to create my own little world within that. Because I really liked the couple that I had to work with in that continuity. And I felt kind of lucky because, and the same thing with Barcelona Baby Bombshell, is that the couples that I have to work with within those, like some of the stories are very, like they're very on point for the continuity. So they have a lot of plot points that are very important for the continuity. And I'm the second book in both continuities. So I have a little more, I have a little more leeway. I mean, my characters do appear, I mean, they do have certain plot points that are specific to the continuity that can't be changed. Like there's certain cases that happen where they're interacting with other characters in other books in the continuity, that certain things have to happen because it's going to happen in the next book or the previous book. And so they have to be the same. But other than that, I had a lot of, I would say probably 70 to 80% of the book was my own, that I could just imagine and create any way that I wanted to. And then that last 20 to 30% was the stuff that had to be the same because it's part of the continuity. And that 70% that I get to create myself is where it was really fun, because I love Art Nouveau. That's one of my favorite periods of art history. And Barcelona is full of Art Nouveau architecture and just beautiful, beautiful Art Nouveau works of art and things like that. So I got to incorporate all of that stuff into my story. And I got them ballroom dancing. He teaches her how to ballroom dance in there. And I used to teach ballroom dancing, so I got to put some of that in there. And it was super fun. And she's a surfer. My heroine is a surfer, so I got to learn about surfing, and I learned a bunch of interesting stuff about Cuba that I didn't know, because he's from Cuba, and like here in the United States, we can't interact with Cuba at all. It's like forbidden. But outside of the United States, people can come and go from Cuba all the time. And like interesting factoid, people are not allowed to swim on the coast of Cuba. You're not allowed to surf or swim because they're afraid people are going to escape. And it makes sense, but you're not allowed to surf around Cuba. And so when he goes to Barcelona and he meets the heroine who is a surfer, she tries to teach him how to surf. And she's like, "You lived on an island, don't you?" And he's like, "No, I didn't know, because it's against the law to do that in Cuba." So I'm like, oh, okay. So, and I'm glad I looked that up, because I was going to have him, know how to surf. And I'm like, oh, no.
Oh, yeah. Good save.
Yeah,
I know. You learn all kinds of stuff. I know all kinds of little trivia factoid stuff. So, yeah.
Research for the win.
Yeah, there you go. It's so cool.
All right. Well, Traci, it has been great having you here with us. Can you tell us what is next for you in life, in publishing, in everything that's coming?
Well, I'm finishing up the GP's Royal Secret now. Their Barcelona Baby Bombshell is out the end of June, June 26th, I think. July 1st is when this one is out. And then A Mistletoe Kiss in Manhattan is out in November. The GP's Royal Secret is out the end of December. And then who knows? And I'm going to have an online short read this Christmas that's going to be out there on the Harlequin website for some kind of 12 Days of Christmas promo that they're going to be running this holiday season. And who knows what's going to happen after that. It's just all kind of woo. Hopefully they'll want me to write more books after that. We'll see.
I'm sure they will, and we will be here to read them.
Aww.
Yes.
Thank you.
And Becca, thank you so much for joining us.
Yes.
I'm glad I could have you on and have you here to chat with Traci with me.
Yes, thank you so much.
Is there anything big coming up with you?
I mean, I have several new Traci Douglas books to read.
Indeed, yes.
Yes. Thank you so much for being here, Becca. It's so great to meet you.
Yes.
It really is. I've heard so much about you, but this is the first time we've actually talked.
Yes, Juliet likes to torture me and tell me, who followed me today, or who I had an email with him. You know who was on a video chat with me? And I was like, stop it. Just stop it. It's and she is a fantastic author on her own right, but it's difficult because she is still my big sister who likes to push the buttons.
Yes, Juliet Hyland is an excellent author. So
she is, yes.
You should read her books. Yes, definitely. So,
yes.
Very good.
Well, thank you for joining us, everyone. My next live show is going to be Friday, May 27th at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. It'll be a panel. We're going to be discussing what's on the romance book subreddit of the Reddit website.
That sounds fun.
And then
I love Reddit.
Soon after that, I know. I mean, you have to compartmentalize that website. Definitely, there's a lot of trash on there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but I mean that's the internet everywhere, isn't it?
Right. Exactly.
And then the live book discussion for May is going to be The Murder of Mr. Wickham by Claudia Gray, and that will be on Monday, May 30th, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4:30 p.m. Pacific. And don't miss more Traci Douglas. She's going to be on Lucy Monroe's channel with Carrie Nichols, May 19th. That's 1 p.m. Eastern and 10 a.m. Pacific. All right. Thank you, everyone, for being here.
Everybody, thank you so much for having me on.
Yes, thank you so much.
It was so fun. Thank you.
Fun. Yes, and I hope to have you both back, and I'm sure we're going to have you both back on the podcast as well.
Oh, that would be fantastic. I would love that.
Can't wait to chat with you all again.
Okay.
So until next time, everyone, have a wonderful evening.
Okay. Bye.